An interesting fellow in a top hat, and a wizard, and a
goofball.
A goofball. Oh, good.
You'll soon learn that we're all goofballs.
Anyway, here's to the goofballs of the world.
Hear, hear.
Good evening, weirdos, and welcome to another edition of Livin' Cruddy with Cruddy Joe. I am your host, Cruddy Joe, and I'm here, as always, with my pals, the Getty Along Gang. We have handsome Jimmy Hansen and the full bug, Gino Royd Coffinberry. And our very special guest is I had to write it down because it's so much. He's an iconic director, writer, producer, actor, author, and stunts enthusiast, Mr. Brian Trenchard-Smith. Good evening, sir. Thank you for being here.
Hi, I'm just being jumped upon by my cat. This is Tuxedo.
Hello, Tuxedo.
Tuxedo, monitoring the interview and occasionally commenting. Hello, everybody. What's your listenership?
It's pretty random. We're in our first year of running this podcast. Depending on who the guest is, we get a couple hundred views on each of the moderate ones.
I'm happy to talk to a couple of hundred people about my book, which I think they will enjoy.
I think so, too. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, so you've got a copy and you've been flipping through it. It's an interesting read from start to finish, but it's also very snackable.
Well, it's funny. I don't know. I guess when I got it on my Kindle, I was expecting it more to be a purely confection, just a lot of like small anecdotes about Hollywood and whatnot. But it's actually very dense with a lot of history, goes into in depth as to Hollywood kind of works. I guess I just didn't expect it to be like a full meal. I just thought it'd be
You thought it was more, yes, when I said snackable. Yes. Yeah. Well, it's snackable. It's a full meal that you can snack on for months. I'm really glad that you had that reaction. Pleases me as an author. I wanted to write a book, about my 50 plus years of experience in what I call the recorded entertainment business. It's the art of telling a story with a camera, even if it's a news story, which is where I started. And I didn't want to write a book that just said hooray for me.
That'll be your second book, hooray for me.
Really, I think an autobiography should have a few truths in it. And if you're going to talk about your life, maybe you should talk about it warts and all to a degree. I have professional warts. I wanted it to be instructive to other people, young people getting into the business, which has vastly changed since the day that I started to get into the business, which was when I was 18, and then had a really quantum leap forward when I moved from England to Australia at 19, just turning 20, and luckily, got into became a news film cutter because they needed one, and I said I could do it, which is actually a very good piece of advice. If somebody needs something, you say, I can do that. Then you set about learning very quickly how to do it. So I wanted it to be sort of educational in a way. I wanted it to be a laugh, a lot of, try to emphasize the funny things that happened, emphasize the positive and not overemphasize the negative, because show business is full of negative. People join show business because they seek the approval of an audience of some kind, be they directors or actors or writers. And so they join a business that's 90% rejection. There's something fundamentally counterintuitive about that. So I'm glad you have had that reaction so far.
Yeah, I believe your profile picture on Facebook has you holding a deer.
No, I'm holding a baby tiger. Yeah, I mean, I do feed deer. They come to the door and are patient, and I come out and slice apples and give it to them. And there seems to be a group of about 6 that are dependent upon, the kindness of strangers. Yeah, I have an affinity for the deer. I have an affinity for all creatures, actually. And as you can see in the book, I have worked with quite a variety of animals: lions, baby tiger, big elephants, ridden an elephant, which probably is politically incorrect to say because I'm torturing the creature. I like this particular elephant, and it seemed to like me, and I learned to ride it. It's fairly simple. You steer with the ears. I should demonstrate on this cat, actually, but the ears are not quite. Tug on the left ear, and likewise for the right, and sure enough, the elephant will move in that direction. Didn't have to know where the brakes or the gears were, and luckily I had a trainer with me at the time, so one of the biggest problems we had, I guess, was blending species. Tarzan had to carry Cheetah, the chimp, on his shoulders. And there's one thing a chimp is absolutely mortally afraid of, it's an elephant, because elephants have a habit of stepping on chimps. They just don't like the sort of sudden black shapes scuttling across their path, and they go squish. Getting Cheetah to be, on Tarzan's shoulders, and sometimes a bit difficult. They both were rewarded with bananas.
Well, if the outtakes are true, true, at least back in the Johnny Weissmuller days of Tarzan, that Cheetah was perpetually drunk.
The only way you could, I guess, get poor animal to do what the things they did. That was appalling. I believe the world and certainly movie makers have grown beyond that. And we're all very careful now not to make an animal suffer. The rules are very strict, and I applaud them. I felt proud of the way we handled the animals on Tarzan, or the Tarzan series that I did.
Well, that does lead to one question I had. In one of your films, Dead End Drive-In, there's a scene shot almost from the perspective of a chicken that goes underneath a truck.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I was there. Right there. I mean, I didn't man the camera, but we remoted it, obviously. We worked out exactly how many inches high the wheelbase clearance was, so the camera was safe. And the chicken, unlike the camera, couldn't duck. Put down some seed. The chicken was very happy to be eating the seed and didn't really mind that this vehicle was just passing right over it. Expected the chicken to walk away as the vehicle came by, and then it would pass over the camera. One of those happy accidents when the camera is rolling, it happened. Chicken wasn't going to leave that seed, and of course it was going at a very measured speed, just really 3 miles an hour. I knew that was the only way, because otherwise the chicken would have cleared well before if it was speeding. And this shot actually comes from something that my father said. I remember we watched the Patton Lust of Glory together on the big screen once in Australia, and there's a scene where a jeep races through a Libyan village, and literally you see it run over some chicken. And the film is full of sort of goats in foreground and so forth. And my father said, I always love when they put animals into pictures. Makes it look real, brings it to life. That the chicken shot was an homage to my father, which he did appreciate when he saw the film.
High-ranking officer in the Royal Air Force.
Well, I wouldn't say high-ranking, wing commander. If he hadn't been shot down and be a prisoner of war, he probably would have been a group captain or an air marshal even. He was a great example to me. He gave me organizational skills, leadership skills. My mother gave me my artistic side.
Well, this is already the most historically relevant episode we've had.
That's right.
That's
5 minutes in.
Yeah. Backtracking a little bit, I know throughout your career you've dealt with a lot of stunts and stunt men, but I guess Dead End Drive-In had the first and only stunt chicken.
Yes, you're right. I could write a whole piece on the stunt chicken now. I'm writing this down.
Stunt chicken.
To be clear, the chicken survived, right?
The chicken survived until it was put in a pot.
Well, I guess living in a dead-end drive-in, it's inevitable.
It was a fun film to make, and it was a film that I believed in politically. I try to make films that are entertaining to a particular audience, and sometimes you put a level of humor or irony or political subtext into whatever the genre is, just to give them a bit of brain food or something to think about. And that's the purpose of telling a good story, I suppose. Turkey Shoot is political. Drive-In is political. Night of the Demons 2 is sexist, and enjoyably so for those that like that sort of thing, but it's also satirical of sexism.
I think it says that on the DVD cover. Enjoyably sexist.
Yeah, I mean, it should.
That's why I got it.
It should.
Yeah.
While doing research, I learned that our paths may have crossed in real life sometime. 2001, Omega Code 2, Megiddo came out, and I was the head projectionist at the Regal Green Hills 16 in Nashville. We had a promotion reel sent to us. They were going to have a screening for distributors, and so I put together this movie, got it ready for the screening, and I remember I was crossing the lobby, and one of the filmmakers, I thought the director, so they took me to the side. He put his finger in my chest, and he said, "Look, when the end credits start, I need the lights to pop back up immediately to full brightness to add the effect to my movie."
That was not me, because I was not at that test screening. I was not there. I was in Canada making my next film. I think I know exactly who that person who poked you in the chest and was fairly full of himself, wouldn't you say?
He was deadly serious. I remember thinking, okay, Hitchcock, I'll do what I can.
Well, as far as
Clint Eastwood,
he was someone who was always creatively envious as a producer. We had our little tussles, but I'm happy with the way the film came out, because it's as wacky as hell if you look at it in the right way. I said, your script is awful, let me rewrite. It didn't seem to have clarity of purpose and a hero you could relate to. And I said, okay, well, I'll fix it. I took the material title and just refashioned it as The Omen meets The End of Days. Well, it's more The Omen meets Air Force One in The End of Days, and they fight the Battle of the Bulge and are rewarded with the Second Coming. But, I always thought the whole thing was a hoot and a holler, but I thought the Pentecostal Christians, even Scientologists, God help us, they're entitled to make their own media. I don't subscribe to their beliefs, but they're entitled. It's freedom of speech. And if they want to hire me to make their film, telling their story, selling their message, fine. I get to make a movie. And that's what I'm good at, and that's what I like to do. And I do a good job. To many people, they think, God, why did you make that film? I said, why don't you, have a beer, light a joint, whatever, sit down and watch it with a sense of humor and a sense of maybe the allegory.
Are you an American citizen now?
Yes, I am.
English to American citizen by way of Australia, right?
Yeah, I'm half British, half Australian, half Irish. I am a citizen of the UK, Australia, and America.
The question that's on everybody's mind with that Australia connection is, how many times have you been bitten by an eastern brown snake?
Never. I was looking forward to it, but it never happened. No, brown snake, well, yeah, you have to be a little careful with those. Australia does have a fair share of venomous creatures, and not all of them are politicians. Now, you can go to the tropical north. There are all sorts of taipans and brown snakes and horrible things. And of course, there is the redback spider that likes to hide under the toilet seat. So a bite from a redback can be memorable.
You're really selling Australia as a place that we want to go. I mean, we're ready. We're ready.
Cross that off.
Occasionally, the crocodile eats an American tourist.
We are delicious.
They are delicious. Their diet is
American tourists.
They are delicious. A lot of cholesterol. The Northern Territory of Australia is a Kakadu National Park is a great place to visit. Learn a lot about Aboriginal culture. But no, Australia is a wonderful place to visit if you're an outdoors person. We have a saying, 4 billion flies can't be wrong.
So how do we protect ourselves against these toilet spiders?
Yeah.
I would wear an athletic support and maybe a hockey hector protector. That should probably fend it off. Australia's a safe place and a fun place.
Is spider season a real thing there?
No, I think they're quieter in the winter. Up north, northern Queensland, you don't go in the water after a certain time of year as the water heats up because the box jellyfish is out, and that's deadly. And the Portuguese man of war is almost deadly. And there are a lot of them floating around in the hotter months. When we were shooting the mangrove swamp scenes in Turkey shoot, we had to have our two stars, Olivia Hussey and Steve Railsback, wading up this tributary. And so we threw a slick of gelignite into the channel and blew it up a bit to discourage any saltwater croc that might be using it as a nice sort of place. And then suddenly these legs brush past and ouch. That's the way to clear the water for safety.
Oh, well, that's crazy.
That's sort of kind of the way it is up in a tropical community. It doesn't seem to happen in Oregon very often.
Now, was Olivia Hussey just looking for a change of pace, wild movie? That's not the kind of movie you typically would see her in.
I'm delighted that she accepted the part. Indeed. Maybe she thought, I'm going to be an action girl. I'm going to try being an action girl. But I don't think she enjoyed it. And it was a pretty chaotic production, as you'll read in the book. Sudden budget shortfall. And I had to sort of improv a lot of things. I still made a film that people want to watch today. Some people, anyway, with a certain postmodern viewpoint, of course.
One big question I have was, when you're making a film within a sequel within an established franchise, is it stifling creatively due to you have to stick within certain parameters of The Leprechaun or Night of the Demons, or is there enough wiggle room to add your particular flavor to the proceedings?
Yeah, I found that. I had very supportive producers for Night of the Demons too. They gave me my head and I put more humor into Demons. And so when I was asked by same producers but a different distributor to do Leprechaun 3, which was meant to close the franchise, going to be a trilogy, I said, sure. We did Leprechaun in Vegas and it turned out to be a big success. So when I got to Leprechaun in Space, I expanded the sense of humor more and turned it into more of a genre parody horror comedy with perhaps less vicious, harsh horror. There are different kinds of horror. There's some harsh moments moments in Night of the Demons 2, as well as the horror comedy moments. There's not very much harsh horror to speak of in Leprechaun in Space, and that disappointed the horror fans. So you could say that I fucked up there. I should have had that element in, as well as all the jokes I wanted to make about sci-fi movies, like having the giant spider guy, before he'd get blown to pieces, use the last line from The Fly. Help me! Sci-fi buffs and geeks and so forth watch these films. They don't take them seriously. They want to have a bit of a chuckle, and they want to admire any scary parts if there are scary parts. I don't think the two Leprechaun films that I made were particularly scary, but they were fun in a horror context, and therefore it made it more accessible to 10-year-olds.
If I may ask something somewhat personal, in your book you talk about when you were going to school, you were often reprimanded for being quote-unquote bullshit. And I was wondering if that was an issue that Dr. Trenchard-Smith has to put up with to this day.
Dr. Trenchard-Smith has to put up with me being bullshit all the time, but she's a good woman who puts up with it.
I was curious, you said that when you went and met with Patricia Neal, that she was at the time married to Roald Dahl. I'm a big fan of his writing. I was wondering what your experience with him.
I didn't get to meet him at that meeting. He was maybe in London doing something. All she told me was that since her stroke, he had been very supportive, but I didn't meet him.
Wow, well, I can relate to that. I too am recovering from a stroke.
How has it affected you?
Oh, I'm paralyzed on my left side, and I'm epileptic now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any possible remedy that can correct this?
I was 40 when it happened, so they're not sure how much I'll recover, being that I was relatively young when I had it.
Right. How old are you now? I'm sorry.
46. I have limited motion in my arm, and I can walk with a cane, but for the most part, I think I'm pretty much screwed for the rest of my life, in a medical sense.
Well, I hope that you can find some form of happiness and fulfillment, given, the cards you've been dealt.
A lot more time to write, that's for sure.
What do you write?
Genre fiction, mostly.
Self-published, like me?
Self-published, yes.
I wrote self-published this novel, Alice Through the Multiverse. It's Game of Thrones meets Jason Bourne on Freaky Friday.
Oh, that old chestnut.
It's a ripping yarn of 18-year-old girl as the central protagonist. The daughter of a 16th century executioner, a virgin, religious, thrust into another strand of the multiverse where she is in the 21st century, rather, and is caught up in an assassination plot. It's a fun piece told with a degree of humor. I wrote it as if I wanted you to, if you read it, to feel like it's a movie playing in your mind. Originally, it was a screenplay I wrote that was optioned twice for good money, and we couldn't get Cara Knightley, Scarlett Johansson, or any of these young female stars. Eventually, the deals lapsed, and I put it away, but finally I decided that, hell, I want to tell this story, so I told it in prose. It doesn't cost a great deal of money to self-publish. That hasn't become a bestseller. But you can change all that by telling your listeners to go Kindle or paperback Alice Through the Multiverse.
We're going to send them there.
You'll be the next J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Joe's latest book is a story called Chicken Shoot, where futuristic deviants are sent to a reformatory camp.
Maybe there's a movie there.
Yeah.
Do you guys fool around in the business at all? Do you make your own little videos, any funny or die kind of things?
This became a project of ours during COVID. Normally, James and I do a music project here in Nashville. Actually, there's a weird connection to one of your films. The remake of Night of the Demons featured some music by a band that I'm in. I'm sure it's got nothing to do with your film on that, but there's a weird kind of connection.
Which band are you in?
That was a band called Psycho Charger that I play with, kind of a fill-in status. Jimmy has as well. But we have a band in Nashville called the Creeping Crud that's kind of a mixture of horror-themed rock and roll. And it's all for fun, of course. We're not, there's no career there or anything like that. But with COVID, you can't play music, you can't do gigs, you can't really
Wait, what? No career?
He's on the joke that was told 5 minutes ago.
I circumnavigated America by Greyhound bus and then zigzagged across the middle back in 1968. That confirmed my love for America. So I figured one day I'm going to live there. Right at that time I was, living in Australia. And, eventually I moved here in 1990. I had to go to Los Angeles in order to get in the movie business or to transfer my Australian movie business to America. But in about 2015, I really had enough of LA. I'm very happy to visit there, and I have lots of great friends there. But I thought, no, I want a new adventure, something totally different. I'm not going to go to a suburb. I'm going to go to a rural area and get a place that's totally surrounded by trees and is the end of a dead-end street at the top of a hill. I'm really appreciating country values.
Well, you're always welcome to come to Tennessee too. So you got to
Always.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I think Nicole Kidman lives in Nashville.
Yes, she
He
does.
does.
I used to see
Right
her-
here in Langston County.
She lived in West Palm Beach when I lived there, and then now she lives here. She just keeps following me everywhere.
I know.
You better get a restraining order.
I know.
Well, she's a very nice lady, and I'm sure that she will leave you alone eventually.
What's her husband's name? The country singer?
Kenny Chesney, I believe.
It's not
Keith Urban.
Kenny Chesney.
Oh, it's
Keith Urban.
Keith Urban. Yes, Keith Urban's bass
Urban.
player. His bass player lives in the house across the street from me. I might run into her again.
I'm glad that she has found happiness. I always knew she was going to be a star.
and she's gorgeous in person too.
I hope you bump into her.
I'll tell her you said hi.
Well, I'm long gone from her memories. But
She would have to. She would have to be like, that's the guy.
Yeah, it was the first movie, wasn't it?
But BMX was the one that got her notice because it was flashy and over the top, and she was great in it. I just knew that she had that special connection with the audience on the screen, and I was discouraged from casting her because she was taller than the two boys, and I said, "Don't be silly. She's gorgeous, and she just has a natural understanding of the text. She can make just about anything believable," and she did. She has nice comedy timing, and she was great. So I kept pushing her to the foreground, and she was taller than the two boys, and they were great, and they were very supportive, and we all had a wonderful time. There's a special experience making a film that only a film director can truly understand, the bonding with the cast and the crew, leading the team into battle every day to get the work scheduled done. I predicted, and this is an interview that I did with a journalist when she was 16, just before the film was released, that she would be a star and that she would have dynamic screen roles in every decade of her life because she is a consummate actress, and probably end up as a feisty Katharine Hepburn style grandmother in her final years. She was great in my movie, and I always knew where she was going.
Well, it sounds like you had it all planned out for her anyway. That was you pretty much nailed it all.
And I am a predictor of the future. I didn't get to the Beatles till I was 18. They'd been around for at least 3 years. I loved epic movies. Initially, I got into epic music scores. Spartacus, Ben-Hur, Fall of the Roman Empire, Nikos Roza, classic composers. Then I got into Ennio Morricone. Only then did I start exploring popular music. I've never really been a big country fan. I would love to do a country music video one day and maybe have someone sing a song like "You Done Tore Out My Heart" and "Stomp Sucker Flat." I think that would be a good country song, and if you would please get some Nashville artists to
write that down. Our next video, we got our director.
I'm there. I will give you the wackiest, wildest video.
If we work with like $100 budget on that?
Oh yeah, well, hey, you fly me to Tennessee and put me up for a night or two, however long it takes to shoot. I will shoot it. Feed me, house me.
We can do that. We can afford that, can't we?
Yeah, we can do that.
Right.
You got to have a good song, and you got to put together some cute ladies because naturally you need the visual. You got to have good visual. You got to put it together. But I will put an eye on it and suggest all sorts of interesting costuming and wild events to take place.
Large scale looks on a small scale budget.
That's that epics are us.
Yeah, Pixar us. Yep.
We can skip the Werner Herzog impersonation contest.
It's a very diverse quiz.
Days of making you talk. That's Jack Reacher, but he never said that line. Many a Gestapo person, World War II, said that. No. Actually, my father heard the classic World War II cliche when he parachuted out of his burning plane and landed in a field surrounded by German soldiers, which is, didn't get a chance to really try and escape. And a German officer politely walked up to him as he was getting out of his parachute and said, "For you, the war is over." and that's been in countless World War II movies ever since. That's Werner. We've done Werner. Next.
You've
That's good. Yeah.
You nailed Werner. You got that. You're already one up on us. So I have, the way this works is I'll read off a couple lines from a song. I say the first couple lines of a song, tell me the following line, name of the band, name of the song. If you don't know it, we have lifelines. You can reach out to Joe or Jimmy. They can help you with these. I'll get right to the song. Even My Old Man Looks Good. Wednesday Just Don't Go. Thursday Goes Too Slow. What's the next line? Name of the band, name of the song.
Well, I have to say, fuck if I know. Help me out here, guys.
Which one do you want? You want Jimmy or you want Joe? Jimmy's saying he knows it. Let me read it again. Even My Old Man Looks Good. Wednesday Just Don't Go. Thursday Goes Too Slow. What is the next line, Jimmy?
You've got Friday on your mind?
That's
Australia's
absolutely
the
correct.
Easy Beats.
It is the Easy Beats.
Easy Beats. Oh, God.
The Easy
A
Beats.
section of Liverpool rock that I missed out on. I mean, I'm aware of.
Well, you got it right.
From
So
Australia, too.
AC/DC's older brother.
Yeah, that's right. They're brothers. Yeah.
Oh, Easy Beats was not a Liverpool band. You see, I'm hopeless. Yeah. I thought
They had the sound, though. They had the sound down.
had the sound. That's good. Okay. No, I remember AC/DC and Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs.
Oh, yeah.
The next lyric is, look at you, you're a pageant, you're everything that I've imagined. Something's wrong, I feel uneasy.
I feel uneasy too. Because I don't know the answer.
Joe, you know this one now?
no, I don't know this one.
Jimmy should know
Jane, you
this.
stumped us all. What am I? I got to know everything?
Okay,
Yes.
so we stumped all three of you guys.
Yes.
Okay, that's Split Ends, I Got You, who went on to become,
Of course. Yes.
so you still did pretty good, which is actually way better than most people do.
Sometimes wait, don't tell me on NPR, and I watch celebrities not knowing simple questions.
Well, the other half is just identifying. I have two movie quotes, or I'll read the quote and tell me the name of the movie. And if you can tell me who said it, that's a bonus. The first quote is, "Oh, a bad machine doesn't know that he's a bad machine."
Well, I guess sounds like a Terminator movie to me, but oh boy.
I'll give you a hint. This was a huge movie in the 70s. It may have won Best Picture.
Oh, Westworld. Was it Westworld?
It was not Westworld.
Okay.
Do you know, Jimmy?
Well,
Are you looking this up on your phone? You can't do that.
Jimmy's cheating.
Jimmy
No,
doesn't know.
my connection sucks. It
Okay,
keeps freezing on me. I'm playing freaking video games.
Oh, a bad machine doesn't know that he's a bad machine is in the sequence when they're walking the circle in Midnight Express. And then William Hayes says that he's not a bad machine because he knows because he worked at the factory.
Oh, I see. My goodness. Well, I went straight up the Terminator alley, didn't I?
You can reel it in by batting 500 out of these with the last one. The quote from this movie, just tell me the name of the movie, and if you can identify the person that says it, that's a plus as well. The quote is, "A kiss is a sin when it's an upper persuasion for a lower invasion."
Night of the Demons too. Yes. Well, I know that line. You see, I know my own lines. You know?
I can't trick him.
Yeah, Sister Gloria is fellatio a venal sin or a mortal sin?
I found that line delightfully sexist.
Yes, I wrote the limericks for Leprechaun 3. There was an old man of Madras whose balls were made of fine brass. So in stormy weather, they both clanged together and sparks flew out of his arm. So that is one of my most remarkable pieces of writing, I think, in all the
Amen.
That's all we have for you this evening, weirdos. I want to thank, of course, my pals, the Getty Along Gang. We have Handsome Jimmy Hansen and the brains behind everything, Cruddy Joe, Mr. Gina Roy Coffinberry. But most of all, I want to thank our guest, Mr. Brian Trenchard-Smith, for his time.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Here is the book.
And there's the book. Read it. I highly recommend it. I'm reading it myself.
It is thick.
Go out and buy the book.
It's snackable.
It's snackable. Yes. Okay. Well, guys, I really appreciate your time and your enthusiasm and your appreciation of my work. There are 41 of my films to see. You've only seen a couple, so you have your homework. Happy Face Murders. Go find that.
And can you get that chicken's autograph for me?
I'll get the chicken's autograph.
Okay.
It will, of course, be. It will be written in chicken scratch.
They expect it.
Hey, McNasty, if you could travel back in time and tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
I would travel back to when I was 18, and I would tell myself, hey, asshole, don't sell your 59 Jazzmaster. Don't do it. Don't be an idiot. Keep it. you'll miss this guitar. You'll miss it. And you'll lose it and you'll never get it back.
Hey, McNasty, here's a follow-up question. How would you prove to yourself that you're the older version of yourself when you travel back in time?
I would convince myself that I am myself by reminding myself that we wrote our name in the heel pocket when we badly refinished this guitar. The one that got away.
I have the Nad Libs that Joe wrote for him. We're going to do that with Jimmy. Can you pretend to be Brian Trenchard-Smith and do his best? Yes, it'll work.
He can be really.
And then when he sees this, he's going to be like, those motherfuckers. I'm not sure he would have wanted to do this if he actually had the time to stick around longer. But Joe wrote this out. It's pretty involved. I don't want to waste it because he didn't have the time to do it. So Jimmy is going to pretend to be Brian Trenchard-Smith. You know what he's all about and what he's done. So you'll be speaking on his behalf. I think the viewing public will realize that we're just goofing. That's our way out of legality when he sees us. Okay, you know how this works. Give me a beverage.
Foster's
for beer. A mode of transportation.
Scooter.
Another beverage. There's that cat. I saw her flipping off Brian Trenchard-Smith.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Yes.
Bud Light.
A hostess snack.
Ho-hos. JoJo.
A synonym for evil.
Dastardly.
Yeah.
A martial art.
Kung Fu.
A body part, plural.
Nostrils.
This is with everybody in fucking nostrils, man. Always nostrils. A number, any number.
69.
Jimmy's dirty number. That's how he got COVID.
How your mom got COVID.
I know. The story is, this is for our pal here.
That's it? That's all I
Brian
had to do?
Trenchard-Smith. And the name of the story that Joe wrote is Brian Gets Knighted. Are you ready to read this, Brian?
All right.
All righty, yo. One morning, while drinking a cup of Foster's, Brian received a mysterious call on his landline. It was a series of clicks and beeps followed by yodeling and bird calls. After they hung up, Brian ran a recording of the call through his supercomputer. He determined the code was actually a set of coordinates. Hopping on his scooter, Brian followed the coordinates to a deserted Waffle House downtown. After picking the lock, Brian let himself in, where he was immediately confronted by three people dressed in black robes who resembled druids. They led Brian through an abandoned kitchen where handsome Jimmy was trying to cook frittatas on a crusty, broken down grill. The druids then led Brian to a conference room in the back. Sitting at a long black table sat several other people who also appeared to be druids. Suddenly, the druid at the far end of the table removed his hood, revealing himself to be Hugh Jackman. Other druids removed their hoods, revealing Nicole Kidman, Hugo Weaving, Eric Bana, and Kate Blanchett. Is that how you say Eric Bana, or is it Banya?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is he also Scandinavian? It was then Brian realized that he was surrounded by the Australian Illuminati. They offered Brian a solo cup of Bud Light as well as some ho-hos. Then Hugh Jackman walked over to a flip chart. With horror, Brian realized Hugh Jackman might be giving him a presentation on a pyramid scheme. Pyramid scheme. Fortunately, it was a presentation was actually a dastardly plan to take over the world. Despite Brian not being originally from Australia, they nonetheless offered him a high-ranking position in the Australian Illuminati. Brian abruptly turned them down, not wanting anything to do with their dastardly deeds. Hugh Jackman ordered his minions to capture Brian, but little did they know Brian Trenchard-Smith is the master of Kung Fu. When the police arrived, they found the Australian Illuminati suspended from the ceiling by their nostrils. Handsome Jimmy was picked up by his mother, who scolded him for trying to join the Australian Illuminati. "You're not even Australian," she said. For his valor, Brian was knighted by the Queen. Soon thereafter, Brian moved to Oregon, where he was honored and revered by his friends and family for the remainder of his days. That is, when he wasn't busy making 69 more Leprechaun sequels. The end. Thank you, Brian Trenchard-Smith.
Right, thank you.
Now I gotta go sit down in the toilet with a red spider's gonna bite me on me bum.
Yeah, what the fuck is up with the spiders?
I was hoping Joe was gonna freak out and hang up. That would have been a good
Nightmare fuel.
I'm afraid of all spiders, so.
Yeah, I don't like any of those motherfuckers. Oh, yeah, we got a Jimmy's Credit Cuisine.
Don't be too excited, Gene. We must safely deliver the maps to the Australian Prime Minister, or the Germans might win the war.
I got you. That's all I want. I won't forget. That's a whole lot. I can go out now that you're in. Sometimes we shout, but that's no problem.
For you, the war is over.
I don't know why sometimes I get frightened.
I will kill you and your family and everyone associated with you.